stay a while and listen.
What's going on, guys? So today I will be showing you my Aldur set build. Now this is going to be a Fireclaw melee druid build, and with this build I'll be doing 10k damage with about 3k health, and I have max block, so that's really nice. And I think this is a really important video because Aldur set is one of the main sets in Diablo 2 that gets neglected the most. So when I first found out about this build and I tried it out, I could not believe how awesome an Aldur set build was. So I'm going to be going into all the details about that, about skills, equipment. You guys can check the link in the description below, and you can skip to which part of the video you want to see. If you want to see the equipment, skills, the gameplay, check that out if you want to skip to a different part of the video. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is going over the gear with you guys, and obviously I'm using the full Aldur set, but I'm going to be going into details about what you should be putting into your Aldur sets for the sockets. So the first thing, I have an Aldur's weapon, and it's 3 sockets. This can vary from 2 to 3, so you want to get a 3 socket, and I put 3 shale runes in it to get 90% increased attack speed. And then you want to get the Aldur's armor, obviously, and I put a 5/5 fire facet into this to get more fire damage from Fireclaw. Same thing with the Aldur's helmet. Nothing really varies on here except for the cold resistance. You don't need to worry about that. I put 2 5/5 fire facets into this, and it also helps out the Fireclaw damage. And for my amulet, I got High Lord's Wrath, which is one of the most popular and very common amulets for any type of melee character. 1 to all skills, attack speed, deadly strike. It's just all around a really cheap and awesome amulet. And the big thing right here is the Storm Shield. Now this is one of the main parts of the build, and a Storm Shield is really cheap nowadays, and I think that this is the very best shield that you could use for this build. You could get a Phoenix Shield, but that's really going to be expensive, and it's not going to up your damage too much. And Storm Shield is really going to help you out with your lack of resistance on this build, and it's going to help you out with getting that max block. And Storm Shield has all around been one of the most awesome shields in Diablo 2 since the beginning. So, and I put a 5/5 fire facet into that also to get some more fire damage from my melee hits. And then I got the Aldur's boots. And you want to make sure you get a Raven Frost unless you want to socket a high rune, a chain rune, into one of your pieces of equipment, or else you won't get that cannot be frozen stat. And you always want to have that on almost every single character, so you're not running around super slow when you're getting hit by cold damage by monsters. And as far as the belt, I'm using Dungos. You don't have to get Dungos. The belt choice here really doesn't matter too much in my opinion. You could go with Thunder Gods or String of Ears, or whatever you have at the time would probably be okay. It's not going to make or break the build, so just go by what you have or what you personally prefer for your build. Now I'm using a Carrion Wind, and the reason why I'm using a Carrion Wind is because on this build I'm lacking fire resistance and poison resist, and Carrion Wind has a nice 9% life leech on it, and it has 55 poison resist, so that's really helping out my poison resist right there. As you can see, it's negative without it. And if you ever end up getting some small charms with poison resist on it, I would highly suggest you switch to a Bolcathos ring so you can get just a little less life leech, but that 1 to all skills and that life, especially the 1 to all skills, is really going to help out your damage because there's so many different skills on this character that help out with your damage. So 1 to all skills helps out a lot. And then I'm using Drax gloves, and it's pretty obvious why I chose this for the life tap and life leech on it. Also has chance to open wounds. You could probably go with another glove if you would like. I don't think the life tap is going to be absolutely necessary, but if you're playing hardcore, I don't personally play hardcore, but if you're playing something like hardcore or you don't like dying a lot, that life tap is going to help out any melee character extremely well as far as survivability for your character. Then you want to have the Druid Torch and the Annie, of course, but I do not have an Annie right now because they are so expensive and there's barely any on the market. And you want to make sure you get all shape-shifting grand charms. Now, a lot of your skill points will be going into elemental skills to help out your Fireclaw. So I'm not too sure if elemental skill charms are better, but as far as I see, the shape-shifting skill charms do a lot more damage as far as your Fireclaw goes. So, or you can mix them up, or you could test that out for yourself, or like I said, just go with whatever you have at the time while you're playing your character. And then I'm using a call to arms to get the battle orders, and I'm using a lidless wall for my battle orders. And the reason why I chose a lidless wall is because when I switch over, I do not have enough strength to wear a spirit shield. It's really kind of up to mathematics right here. I'm not too sure how much more life you would get out of 1 plus more skills having a spirit for your battle orders. So I just went ahead and went with lidless wall. I don't think it's going to make or break the build. The worst case scenario, I would be missing out on a little bit of vitality, which isn't a big deal, and you can really get a lidless wall really cheap, even if you're struggling to get a spirit, which sometimes some players are. So, and then one of the most expensive parts of this build, this is just the cheap part, and I'm not saying that you can't go on with this build without having higher rune words. This will work out very well. But the most expensive part of this build is having an infinity on my mercenary, and this is really going to help with the damage, and it's going to take some of those fire immunes off monsters. It won't take all of the fire immunes off like lightning immunes do for when you use an infinity, but the infinity is really going to help you out really well, and that's probably the most expensive part of the build. And if you're really struggling to get something like infinity, I don't see any problem just rolling with what you have right here, except for the fact that you might run into some fire immunes, and it just might be a little bit harder to get by those guys. So, and then for the rest of my equipment on my mercenary, I'm just using a fortitude and a really low crown of ages that I just threw on there. I would definitely recommend a fortitude, but you don't need a crown of ages. I mean, when it comes to the mercenary's helmet and armor, you can always go for something cheaper if you can't afford to get a fortitude. I mean, you could get a stone rune word, an ethereal stone rune word. Rune word is really good. It actually has more defense than the fortitude, I think, and it's a whole lot cheaper. So there are other options for you to help out your mercenary rather than getting the best items. But these are basically, in my opinion, and my personal preference, the two best items to put in that slot. I really like Crown of Ages because it has so much damage reduction and things like that. This is a low one, so it's not helping out that much. Maybe if it had 2 Burns in it, it would be nice. But that's just one of my personal favorites for a mercenary because I cannot stand when my mercenary dies, and I just cannot stand it. You got to get gold and all that stuff. So now I'm going to go over the skills with you guys, and there's a lot of different ways that you could go about the skills, but as far as the knowledge that I've collected from other people and just trying to learn more about this build, I think that this is the highest damage dealing build as far as the Fireclaw build, but I go up to about 10k damage, and I think that's pretty much about as high as it's going to get unless you really just put all of your points into other things or just switch the build around completely and not even use Aldur set. So, but as far as this, I'm going to start with the summoning skills. As far as the summoning skills, I put 1 into all these guys right here, the wolves and the grizzly, just to summon those guys up. But one of the main things you want to do right here is put 20 points in the Heart of Wolverine, and that's really going to help your damage out a lot. So you absolutely have to do that to get the maximum amount of damage for this build. And as far as your shape-shifting skills, you're going to want to put 1 into werewolf, just 1 into all the normal stuff right here, shockwave, 1 into all of these. But then you want to make sure you put 20 into Fireclaws because that is your main skill that you're going to be using for this build. So make sure you put 20 points into that. And then for the rest of your points, they're all going to go into Firestorm, Molten Boulder, Fissure, and Volcano. So the more points you max out into these skills, the more damage that you're going to be doing for your Fireclaw. as you can see right there with the synergies. So this is one of those builds that's really rewarding when you level your character up. Even when you get to level 99, you're probably not even going to have enough points to max out everything that you could to hit the maximum amount of damage from the synergies from these skills. So once you get the elemental, just max out Firestorm, Molten Boulder, Fissure, and then just put the rest of your points in Volcano or Fissure. But definitely make sure you have 1 point in the Volcano down here, just so you can get that extra, you know, skills from your items and things like that. So and then as far as my attributes go, I put enough strength into my gear, or sorry, enough strength into my character to wear my gear, and then I put enough dexterity to get 75% max block. Now the reason why it was so easy for me to get that max block is because of Storm Shield, and it really increases your block rate and things like that. That's why Storm Shield is so awesome to have, because it just gives you all around good resistances, good damage reduction, a ridiculous amount of damage reduction. I mean 35% damage reduction from a Storm Shield. That is just absolutely ridiculous, and it's a super cheap item that people just really throw under the bus all the time. So put enough dexterity on there to get 75% chance to block, energy none, and put the rest of your points into vitality. And that, even as you guys can see, I got 400 vitality, and that's even with max block. So that is really nice as far as a gear setup, and it's a really cheap build. You know, all these items here are really common and cheap items here, guys. The skill charms and everything. The only thing that's going to cause you a problem is infinity, and like I said, you should be able to get by without it. So what we're going to do now is just, I'm going to show you guys a little bit of gameplay, show you guys how the build works a little bit, and then we're going to join a higher difficulty game. I'm going to join the game with maybe about 5-6 people and just show you guys how well this build can do with a higher difficulty setting. And I know a lot of you guys asked me to set the players to 8, but you can't do that on battle.net. You actually have to join the game with other people to raise the difficulty. So the first thing I do is cast up my battle command just to get that skill level up for my character. Then I summon all of my animals, my ravens and bears and stuff, and summon up my Heart of the Wolverine. And then this is another thing that I'm really going to talk about with the build, guys, is it's really up to you about what you want to do. Now you can either go with the werebear or you could go with the werewolf. It's completely up to you. Now I'm gonna explain the differences for you guys right now. So if you're in werewolf form, you're gonna have higher attack rating, so you're gonna have a higher chance to hit, and you'll get a little bit of speed out of it, and that's about it. So if you're going werewolf, you're really gonna be getting more attack rating from it. Now if you go werebear, you're gonna get a little bit more damage, and you're gonna get more defense, and you're gonna get more life. So I really think that going werebear is a whole lot better than the werewolf, because like I said, with the werewolf, you're just going to be getting a attack rating boost. With the werebear, you're going to get a damage boost, defense boost, and a life boost. So I would recommend staying with the werebear. But you know, if you don't like looking at the bear or something like that, you just want to be a wolf, man, you know, just go ahead and be the wolf. I mean, it won't make or break the build. It's just some things like that people will just, it's a personal preference thing. Sometimes people just want to be a wolf instead, even though being a bear is better. So as I was explaining that, I'm just going to bow up again real quick, and then we'll get started. So you always want to make sure you have Fireclaws up here on the left. As you can see, I'm doing up to 10k damage, which is ridiculous. And one thing I wanted to mention here also, guys, is that the damage doesn't vary like at all. A lot of builds, the damage will go up to 10k, but the lowest damage that you could do is really low. But with this, man, it's almost 9,000 to 10,000 damage every single hit. So that is absolutely awesome for a build like this. And also, guys, make sure you have Maul up in case you want to just get a little bit extra damage out of your character and things like that. Or if you want to put a point in the hunger. I personally don't mess with that stuff, or you could use Shockwave if you want. You know, shock and stun the enemies. I personally just don't do that very often. I like to kill stuff. But if you want to go ahead and use Shockwave every now and then, if you're in a sticky situation, you want to stun the enemies, you know, go ahead and do it. But for me, I just go in and kill stuff. So let's get it started. I mean, done, dude. Simple. Hello, rare ring there. I basically just walked up and one-shot him. But really make sure that your Heart of the Wolverine stays alive, you know, because every now and then he's going to get killed. Just make sure he's still up, so your damage can, you know, stay at a good pace. I also love having the max block on this. It's totally awesome. Super easy, guys. I mean, I didn't even have to try and do anything. I didn't even have to get my Maul up or any of that. Just walked in and took care of business, man. Alright, so I'm going to try and join a higher difficulty game here and just show you guys how well it works out. Alright, so now I joined up in the game. Looks like we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people in the game, including myself. So this should be a good example to get the difficulty up a little bit for you guys, show you how well this build works. Definitely need to give it a little bit of patience, but you know, as you can see, really good survivability here. Definitely takes care of business. You know, I didn't really have to do much except just walk up and start hitting guys. Got some good items here to check out. I would suggest maybe trying to switch your gloves out for some crushing blow gloves or a belt with crushing blow, just to try and take out, you know, some higher, you know, bigger monsters in the game, just to take them out a little bit quicker. We're just gonna go around here and take out the boss. So as you guys can see there, you know, I did some pretty decent damage on the boss right there on Shank. Try and get a few more monster kills in here before everyone leaves, and that difficulty level goes down. I used to hate these little maggots when I was a kid. Used to disgust me. A lot of those little guys for a melee character. Gotta take them out one by one. Hate those little guys. But, you know, the survivability of this character has been really well. I mean, I don't even think I've gotten even close to half health. Haven't even had to use a potion or anything. Alright. So that's about it for this build, guys. I mean, let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about this build, or if you have any suggestions for this build. This is one of those builds where you could really just go all different types of way with your damage and skills and things like that. You could put some points into werebear, but I highly recommend the way I set up my skill points. I really think it's the highest damage dealing skill point setup that you could do for this type of build. And you know, if you put other points into like werebear and things like that, I think you're just going to be helping your defense and things like that a little bit more. But this is definitely the highest damage dealing part of the build, I think. So, and you know, either way, it doesn't make or break the build, and this is just really an awesome build. I could not believe how well Aldur's set worked out. And it, like I said, it's just really cheap and awesome build, and something really fun and different to do with your character. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you guys subscribe if you want to keep up with Diablo 2 content. New Diablo 2 videos will be here all throughout the week, and I will see you guys on my next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys later.